Put two of the same RC trucks side by side at the bash spot. One wears $400 of shiny aluminum, the other is basically stock, and after a hard afternoon of sending it, the plain one is still ripping while the expensive build is back on the bench in pieces. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what to skip. 7 upgrades that just drain your wallet, 3 that are worth every cent, and a 10-second test that flags any part on the shelf before you pay for it. We are talking 1/10 scale RC bashers here, the kind of RC trucks most of us actually run. And if you have got a Traxxas Slash or something in that short course truck class sitting in your garage, this is aimed directly at you. Number 7, and it is the gentlest one here, the LED light kit and the fancy body. I love these full stop. A crawler picking through rocks at night with real headlights glowing looks unreal, and a clean custom shell is half the reason any of us fell into this hobby. Run the test on it anyway. It fixes nothing that breaks. Lights, bodies, stickers, wings, the whole trade files them under one honest word: style. Now, to be fair, a real wing does something on an on-road car at speed. It presses the back end down so it hooks up through a fast corner. But on a basher bouncing through the grass, it is decoration that snaps off on the first roll. And the premium licensed shell at twice the price of a plain one? It is a sheet of Lexan polycarbonate with nicer artwork. It protects your electronics exactly as well as the cheap one. Buy the body you love because you love it, just never tell yourself you bought speed. A light kit at least admits it is jewelry. The next one dresses up like a real part and fools smart people. Number 6 is anodized aluminum bling. Shock caps, steering knuckles, a little machined brace glowing blue or red on the chassis. It looks like $1 million, and looking good is the only job it does. 2 problems come with it. Aluminum weighs more than the plastic it replaces, and weight hung out at the corners wrecks how an RC truck turns. Ask anyone who races and they will groan about it. Then the bigger one. Bolt metal onto a spot that takes hits and it stops soaking up the blow, so it punts that energy straight into whatever sits next to it. You did not toughen the truck. You added weight and relocated the damage, and you paid extra to do it. Stick with me, because the next few trip up veterans, the guys who really should know better. Number 5, the precision racing servo jammed into a basher. A top-end race servo is a genuinely beautiful piece of gear. Quick, sharp, smooth as glass on a groomed track, and on that track it earns every dollar. The trouble is, you grabbed the wrong tool. Drop one into an RC basher and it snaps the first time a steered wheel slams a curb at full send, because that violent yank is the exact load it was never built to eat. A precision racing servo will snap instantly on a basher. What bashing wants is a tough Metal Gear servo that laughs the abuse off. Spending big on the delicate option for an RC truck you chuck off a loading dock is just backwards. Here is a quick tell for the whole shelf. If the box brags about being race grade, ask whether you actually race. If you bash, race grade usually just means fragile. Number 4 is raw power, shoved in before the drivetrain can take it. This is the classic speed chaser move, and it is the one that strips gears. The power itself is real, no argument. A good brushless motor and ESC combo adds 50 to 100% more speed and just about doubles your run time because it is so much more efficient and there are no motor brushes to swap out every few months. So people get greedy. They cram in more voltage, an extra cell, a fatter motor, and skip the boring stuff underneath. Now here is the mechanism nobody explains. Your stock spur gear is plastic on purpose. It is a fuse. It is built to strip and die cheap before that crash energy reaches the differential or the motor mount, which cost real money. pile power onto a stock driveline, and you are asking for stripped gears and snapped dog bones. Said dog bones, plain and simple. The upgrade you paid for turns itself into a baggie of broken parts. Now, there is a wide-face machined steel spur made for the slash, a 50-tooth that takes the place of the soft 54-tooth plastic one, and that is a real upgrade. But you fit it once the rest of the driveline is ready, not the day you bolt in a hot motor. And if you do chase speed the right way, the accessory that actually keeps you running is not another cell. It is a heat sink and a little fan, keeping the motor alive on a long, hard pull instead of letting it heat soak and quit. There is also a free move most people skip entirely. Set your gear mesh right, that tiny gap between the pinion gear and the spur, and you stop stripping gears for nothing. Too tight and they grind, too loose and they skip and round off. A strip of paper between the gears while you tighten the motor down is the old trick, and it costs you $0. Power that cannot reach the ground in one piece is worth nothing. Quick gut check before we keep going, because this is the halfway turn. If you have got an upgrade on your RC car or truck right now and you are not sure it is doing anything, drop your truck and the part down in the comments. Tell me the scale and how you run it, and I will tell you whether it is earning its spot or just looking pretty. I read them. Number 3 is the no-name brushless combo, the motor and the ESC bundled together for the price of a couple coffees. The cheap number is the whole hook, and that is the trap. A $30 combo off some random site will usually cook itself inside a month, and a cheap brushless setup often runs worse than the decent brushed one you already had. You did not save $30. You paid $30 for a lesson. What actually works is a matched combo from a brand that earned its name, a Hobbywing or a Castle. A Hobbywing Easy Run runs around $125 at about 3,300 kV, and it keeps going long after the mystery box dies mid-run and steals your Saturday. The same logic applies whether you are running a Traxxas Slash, a Rustler, a Stampede, or an Arma Basher. Buying cheap twice always costs more than buying right once. The word you want on the box is matched. The motor and the ESC built to talk to each other beat two random parts that happen to bolt together every time. Now the two that really empty wallets. Number 2 is the Race Lipo, said Lipo, that you grabbed only for the giant C rating screaming off the label. That big number, the one that is supposed to mean punch, is mostly marketing AIR. Nobody regulates it. There is no standard, so makers inflate it, sometimes shamelessly. Somebody actually bench tested this properly. A pack stamped 100C could barely hold 40C before it started cooking, and across 17 popular packs, the real output wandered all over the map, nowhere near the label. Figure on maybe 60 to 70% of the printed number once it is in your RC truck. The spec that genuinely tells you how a pack hits is internal resistance, said IR, measured in milliohms, and lower is always better. Here is why it beats the C number. Under hard throttle, a pack with high internal resistance sags, the voltage drops, and the punch goes soft right when you want it most. A low resistance pack holds its voltage flat and keeps shoving. That sag is what you actually feel, not the printed C. Naturally, internal resistance is the figure they leave off the box. Pay a premium for a monster C rating and you bought a number that does not exist. And one safety word the second we are talking packs, because LiPo is the one real fire risk in this hobby. Never charge one unattended. We will hit the rest of the rules in a minute. The last waste is worse than this one, because there you pay more and the truck still breaks. And the worst of the bunch, the one I lined up at the very top, aluminum suspension arms. It feels like flat common sense. Metal beats plastic, so ditch the plastic. A-arms for billet aluminum, and the RC truck gets tougher. It works the other way around, and the hobby has known it forever. The plastic arm is a fuse, same as the spur. It flexes, springs back, and when a hit is hard enough, it snaps cheap and saves everything bolted around it. Put aluminum in there, and that give is gone. The arm bends and stays bent, throwing your geometry off, or it holds firm and rams the full force of the crash into the bulkhead or the chassis, which are a genuine headache to replace. Look at the money. A plastic arm runs about $12 when it lets go. The aluminum set is around $40, and after it punts that energy downstream, you are buying a fresh bulkhead for roughly $12 more. So that is $40 spent to break $12 more of truck. Here is what the forums sorted out years ago, and almost nobody says out loud. For a hard basher, a flexible TPU part, the kind guys print at home, often outlasts aluminum because it flexes and springs back instead of bending and staying bent. And think about who profits here. The aluminum shops, the GPM, and the hot racing of the world machine a metal version of every single arm for every RC truck made. RPM built a whole company the other direction, on tough plastic that refuses to die. One of those two is selling you the upgrade. The other is selling you the part that actually survives. Metal looks like the smart move. It is bait, and the guy paying is the mark. Alright, the good news. The parts that actually earn their keep, and I am standing each one right up against the junk we just covered. Start with sealed bearings, the direct answer to all that anodized bling. While the shiny parts were busy doing nothing, your RC truck has been rolling on cheap factory bearings, sometimes just plastic bushings, and they have been quietly stealing your power and your runtime on every single pass. Drop in a set of good sealed bearings and the whole drivetrain frees up. The motor spins easier, the battery lasts longer, and the parts wear slower because there is less drag fighting them. You can feel it the first run. The truck coasts further when you let off the throttle, and that coast is energy the bushings were eating before. Clean pass on the test because it cures a real weakness you cannot even see. And it is cheap for a simple reason. A bearing is a commodity, churned out by the million, no badge tax on it, so a full set costs a sliver of that $40 arm set that did you dirty. The seal is the part that matters. It locks grit and water out so the bearing keeps spinning smooth season after season. Dull, cheap, and it flat out works. Next, the battery, a proper LiPo paired with a real balance charger, and this one answers the C rating con head on. A good LiPo wakes an RC car up faster than almost anything you can bolt on. Instant throttle, about half the weight of the old nickel metal hydride or NIMH packs, and longer, harder runs with the power staying flat right to the end. One thing to check before you buy, make sure your ESC is actually LiPo compatible, because some older speed controls are not, and that LiPo cutoff is what stops you from over-draining the pack and killing it. The move is to ignore the fantasy C number and shop on low internal resistance, the spec that actually shoves the truck forward, and the honest cheaper pack usually beats the one shouting the biggest figure. One real tip here. The IR meter built into your charger is not lab accurate, so do not treat it as gospel. But it is perfect for one job, watching a pack's number creep up over the months so you know exactly when it is worn out and time to retire it. Now listen up, because this is the one corner of the hobby that can actually hurt you. Charge on a balance charger and stay in the room with it, never walk away. Keep the pack in a LiPo bag. Never drain it past its low voltage cutoff, and park it at storage voltage, around 3.8 volts a cell, anytime it is going to sit for a few days. The second a pack puffs up, it is done. Retire it. Treat a LiPo with respect and it gives you years. And before the big one, a quick runner-up that just missed the top 3. A metal gear steering servo on a basher. Plastic servo gears strip, and it is never if, only when. On an RC truck that gets thrown around, that is money well spent. And it is the cheap, tough servo you want, the exact opposite of that fragile race unit back at number 5. Here is the one I would buy before anything else on this whole list. Tires, match to the dirt you actually run on. Nothing on the RC car changes how it drives more than where the rubber meets the ground, and whatever came on your RTR, your ready-to-run truck, is almost certainly garbage, because the factory fits the cheapest rubber it can find and counts on you to swap it. The part most people miss is that the win is the match, not the price. Let me make it real with the names bashers actually run. Proline, said Proline. Badlands grip dirt and short grass like crazy, but keep them off pavement. Proline trenchers are the all-rounder. They handle the loose stuff and survive way longer on the street. And Proline hole shots, those tiny pins hook up beautifully on hard pack and clay, but they wear right off on pavement. Running the street instead, you want a slick or a low-profile tire, not big lugs squirming under you. Running carpet at an indoor track, soft little mini spikes. Same RC truck, 4 different surfaces, 4 different right answers, and the rubber is what changes, not the badge. This holds whether you are on a Traxxas Slash, a Stampede, an Arma Granite, or any other 1/10th scale basher. Match the tread to your ground and people say the same line every time. It cannot possibly be the same truck. And the right tire often costs less than some hyped-up hoop, because you are paying for rubber compound and a mold, no logo tax, and the correct cheap tire beats the wrong expensive one on your dirt every single time. That is the crown. Sort your tires before you touch anything else on the RC car. So here is the whole thing in one breath. Judge every part by the test, not the badge on the side. Aluminum looks like the upgrade, and it is the trap. The giant C rating looks like power, and it is a fairy tale. The boring bearings and the right tires are the parts that quietly win. This hobby keeps proving the same point over and over. A cheap RC rig, geared right, motor and ESC matched, sitting on the correct tires, kept up with a little maintenance, will walk all over an expensive one that got neglected and decorated. The speed was always in the setup, never in the badge. You can pour anywhere from $200 to $800 into one RC truck, so the only question that matters is which parts you pour it into. You are the one who sends it, who wrenches at the bench, who wants the thing ready for Saturday instead of sitting in the parts bin as a shelf queen. So spend like that person. The RC truck that owns the night is the plain one on fresh, correct tires, hooking up and pulling away clean while the $400 orange aluminum build crawls home on a cracked bulkhead. So tell me down in the comments, what is the first upgrade you ever bought that you wish you could hand right back? I want to hear it.